this project, and thank you for tuning in. As you all know, my podcast is now listed on 8 plus platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and Google. And with the staunch support from you guys, it is reaching to so many places and so many people across the world. Please keep sharing your learnings and experiences of how my podcast has transformed your life in every little way possible. Before I move on to the episode today, I want you to take some time and truly reflect on this quote by Eckhart Tolle. When you are detached, you gain a higher vantage point from which you view the events in your life instead of being trapped inside them. This is the kind of detachment we are going to explore and understand in this episode today. Throughout our lives, we come across countless number of people, and a few of them end up being very close to us. We carry them with us for all our lives. However, at the same time, we also create certain ties with certain people who become extremely significant in our lives. But sometimes these ties needs to be broken or ended. With attachment, there comes a very strong urge to control the circumstances. While you can control a few events, there are a lot of things that can go haywire and are out of our control. Emotional burden makes you expect the worst, be hard with yourself, and experience guilt conscience. You create emotional burden when you get emotionally involved with problems, worries, and fears, and when you allow stress to affect you. Detachment is not an easy process. In detachment, the fear of losing yourself with them is much more than losing the other person. You fear you won't experience the same relationship with someone else, or you fear that you won't feel the same feeling ever again. Or it could be a fear of not being able to open up the same way to someone else. The fear of losing yourself is deeper than anything else. Detachment can be messy, it can be excruciating. But as we all know, time heals. Time heals each one of us. And in the entire process of detachment, I promise you, you will gradually find bits and pieces of yourself all over again. When I speak about emotional detachment, you might have never have heard about it, and if you have, it is most probably that you've heard about it in a negative light. Negative detachment is mostly described as the inability to connect with other people on an emotional level, or it is a coping mechanism for people to deal with anxious situations. This kind of detachment can be emotionally numbing, wherein positive detachment simply refers to a level of mental assertiveness that allows you to achieve emotional balance and maintain healthy emotional boundaries when faced with stressful circumstances or demanding relationships. Positive emotional detachment is a state of inner calmness and poise, and the ability to not let the other person's action affect your emotional state of being. This is a skill that will help you to stop dwelling into your past and allow you to be totally present wherever that you are. Once you're positively detached, you will also learn to stop taking things personally. Most of the times, when we attach our feelings to the situations, we experience anxiety and end up becoming more biased towards our feelings. And this doesn't allow us to take some reasonable decisions in our lives. When people hear the term detachment, they simply think of it as being indifferent or passive or lacking feelings. However, positive detachment means something else. It means that you need to allow yourself to deeply immerse into that situation, but there's a trick here. You need to behave like an actor. You need to fully, deeply immerse yourself into the character and experience and feel everything. But at the same time, recognize that you can step outside of the character and reflect. To not attach who you are to any desired outcome is what positive detachment is all about. A According to spiritual author Ron Rathbun, true detachment isn't a separation from life, but the absolute freedom within your mind to explore living. I want you to ask yourself these questions now. Do you allow other people's moods to affect your state of mind? Does it affect you when other people get angry? Do you get angry or frustrated on trivial matters? Is your peace dependent on the external factors? Do you think something will be a disaster if it does not happen the way you have planned? Do you want everyone else to behave the way you want them to? Do you allow yourself to be pulled into emotional thinking, worries, and fears instead of detaching yourself from them? If you could relate to any of these questions, you need to develop a certain degree of detachment. When it comes to personal matters and to matters that involve emotions, it can be a little difficult to avoid being affected and emotionally involved. It is difficult to stay calm when people criticize you or disrespect you. It is also difficult to stay calm when people speak about their problems or share their anxiety, stress, or negative feelings with you. Through detachment, you can be empathetic to other people's emotions and feelings, but at the same time be aware and considerate of other people's emotions, care about them, and still not allow their emotions to overwhelm your inner peace. However, with some training, you can teach yourself to stay calm, positive, and not be affected by negative words, feelings, or situations. Positive detachment is a process. The first step here is to simply recognize and accept that you are attached to the outcome. Once you recognize and accept that you are attached to an outcome, start observing your mind. Then start paying attention to how that attachment is affecting your decisions and your energy. How is it making you feel? Become aware of what kind of thoughts you habitually think. What things do you identify the most with? You can start to see how it's not serving you and how it may be blocking you from simply experiencing life. Look at your thoughts as an outsider, letting them come and go without allowing yourself to feel too much about them. That's when you will realize that you are not your thoughts. Secondly, let go and release. You need to let it out. It would greatly help if you released your feelings. The longer you keep it in, the harder it will get. We can only keep so much of our feelings and thoughts to ourselves that when the time comes, we might just blow up. Yes, there are certain things and feelings better left unsaid and unexpressed, but it's better to release the toxic ones. Feel it. The thing that you don't want to feel it and just let it go. Cry it all out, shout, sing, or do whatever you like. Write it down and just throw it away after. I believe that we can only cry a certain amount of tears for a person, and once it's used up, you might feel like there's no other way to let it out. There are a million ways to express yourself and to release your feelings, but better keep it as harmless as possible. Release a certain amount of feelings each day, or you could just release it all at once. It's all up to you. In detachment, what will make you feel comfortable and calm is important. This is about you and your feelings. No one should be judged for feeling. Feeling is what makes us human. Thirdly, think forward. There is no looking back. One of the most crucial steps of detachment is to let your past remain in the past. Your past can be a black hole that will sink you in deep. It can be a trap that will kill you slowly. Look, past is a part of you, but it's history. Don't you want to move on to better things in life? Looking back can help if you let it help you. But sometimes too much looking back won't help you get any further than where you are. The past holds the nightmares of pain and pessimism. It also holds the dreams of hope and joy. It also holds the daydreams of hope and joy. If you're willing to give up your future for the past, it's up to you. But I would recommend you to think forward. Think about the things that are bound to happen. Think about new and better adventures. Think about a better and happier you. It's time for you to step into a brighter light. It's time for you to continue loving yourself as you love the ones that truly matter. It's time for you to shine even after the darkest of your days. It's time to flaunt your battle scars and face the world with all smiles. You've come to this and it's all worth it. Move forward, think forward, and take one step at a time. And lastly, build your foundation. Most of the times, either in our workplace, our relationship, family, or friendship, we end up being so entangled that our entire lives revolve around that one person or place, and that we don't have a life outside of this attachment. But now is the time to find one. If there is an empty void where the attachment once was, don't you want to intentionally replace it with something better? Else you may find yourself repeating the pattern all over again. So, get out and spend time with your friends. Find a new hobby, take a class, whatever you choose to do, get busy and rebuild your foundation. When we are attached, our thoughts and emotions focus solely on the object of our attachment. We give away our power to them. If we wish to make a healthy detachment, we should shift our focus from the object of attachment to ourselves. We can engage in activities and do things that strengthen the relationship with ourselves. Instead of expecting people to fill our missing voids, we fill them ourselves and then share our completeness with them. We stop needing them and we start choosing to want them. To conclude, positive emotional detachment creates a space of freedom within ourselves, making us feel whole, complete, and emotionally in control of our lives. It allows us to experience feelings and emotions without being consumed by it. When you learn the art of being positively detached, you free yourself from the emotional burden. You can still love someone wholeheartedly and not their behavior. You can still embrace everything in your life with remaining open to the possibility of having it gone someday. It is an attitude of open mindedness and of being practical. Detachment is not that you should own nothing, but that nothing should own you. Thank you for joining me this week on the Happiness Project. Stay tuned and make sure you never miss a single episode of this show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for all your support. And if you like this episode, please share it with as many people as you can. Because sometimes all it takes is one push for someone to transform their lives. Let this podcast be that push.